Testing. Hi everyone. Firstly, thank you for coming down to all of our volunteers, and hi to everyone in the public. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of this land. I would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past and present, of the Kulin Nation, and extend the respect to other Indigenous Australians present. We're Melbourne Pig Save, which is an organisation that is obviously here to save pigs and to educate the public about what pigs go through in farms. We have a number of speakers here today, and our first speaker will be Pam from Edgar's Mission. So Edgar's Mission is an animal sanctuary that homes about 500 animals. They've been rescued from either abandonment, mistreatment, or they've escaped from slaughterhouses or farms. Edgar's Mission's aim is to educate people about the lives of animals and let them live the lives that they deserve. So please welcome Pam.
Thank you so much, Jess. Thank you everyone for coming here today. Before I do start, I'd like to acknowledge we are meeting here on land traditionally held by the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. I'd like to dedicate my talk today to a beautiful pig who recently passed away in the sanctuary. His name is Beethoven. Edgar, you've got him coming. I'd also like to thank publicly the amazing staff and volunteers who make Edgar's Mission happen on a daily basis. Some of them are here with us today, and the others are back previously working at the sanctuary to make sure every one of those animals has love, care and kindness they so richly deserve. I've titled my speech today, Jimmy Mourns. As 2019 set to hand the baton to 2020, this usual cause for celebration started to be taken by one of the worst catastrophes to darken Australian shores. As bushfires mercilessly raged across much of southeastern and southern Australia, heartache and ash rained down across our wide land. Knowing no borders or kindness, the tsunami of wicked flames toppled homes and habitats, decimating irreplaceable forests, destroying towns and attempting to do so to the tight-knit rural communities. But they are tough and resilient, those country folk. And the animals, the beautiful animals, both native and domestic, each one as precious as the next. Many vulnerable and endangered species would be pushed even closer to that irrecoverable brink. The lives of so many innocent victims were whipped up in this apocalyptic world, only to be tossed down dead or alive in the aftermath, leaving crippled hearts in its ash-filled and smoky wake. Jimmy and Katie were but two caught up in this. They were two much-loved rescue pigs who had found sanctuary in New South Wales, and who had tragically and ironically been moved to safer ground as fire threatened their home. It was a home that ultimately only one of them would return to, dear Jimmy. Jimmy's tale of escaping the fiery inferno played out not only in his life, but in the lives of all those who read his tragic tale some days later, so hauntingly and poignantly penned by his human, Daniel Salamanger. Such was Salamanger's heartfelt portrait of grief, heartache, with just a tiny glimmer of hope, that the story was shared nationally and internationally, thousands and thousands of times. And each time it did, it gave the reader a unique insight into the world of pigs, leaving them without a shadow of a doubt that pigs feel grief too, just like we humans. Jimmy's tale was both visceral and real, the pain of experiencing the wrath of the Armageddon world, its smothering darkness that turned day into night, and night into something even more sinister again. The confusion, the smoke, the infernal noise, the screams of Katie and his own. We are right there with a hypervigilant Jimmy as he looks desperately for his beloved Katie once he returned home, hoping beyond hope that he would find her, but only to halt at the reality he would not, that she had not emerged like he from the other side of those flames. We ponder in empathy. Do her desperate screams still haunt his? We don't know, but what we do know, and the conclusion that our hearts lead us to, is Jimmy's sense of loss for his companion and the world that he once knew. And as Jimmy finds solace in the cool of the earth in the hands of Danielle, every inch of our being is willing them both to heal. Salamanca's so widely circulated world lifted the veil on the rich and emotional world of pigs, allowing so many who had never considered their lot before to step, however momentarily inside, to do so. And we could see it roar, an animal in pain and in grief, and be moved to the irrevocable thought that the line that separates us from them is both permeable and arbitrary. And for those who are already aware of those things, to be even more enamoured to champion the cause of pigs. But what Jimmy and Katie went through was tragic, but it was not planned. It was not preordained. Quite simply, it was never meant to be. In fact, Jimmy and Katie's human was the greatest length to shield these two from harm. You know what happens daily to equally sensitive, intelligent and personal pigs, just like Jimmy and Katie, is as heartbreaking as it is planned and profitable. Placing them deliberately in harm's way, separating mothers from their babies, disrupting social groups, causing them harm, and ultimately claiming their lives. And every inch of the way, it is legal. So will the bushfires reshape the way we think about farmed animals? To be honest, I think not. While beloved cats and dogs were bundled up in family cars as people fled, and wildlife raced to find safer ground, fences stopped the very efforts of farmed animals to escape and protect the lives of those that they loved. And that their passing wants to be measured and moored in economic terms speaks volumes. Just Monday of this week, we learned of a tragic fire at a piggery in South Australia that claimed the lives of more than 1,000 individual pigs. Pigs who were confined and trapped inside the shed and who stood little chance of escaping, despite the fact that the fire occurred during the day and there were people about. The fire was reported to have a damage bill of over $1 million. But for those hapless victims, there were no knitted jackets to help them recover, there were no rescuers sent in to assist them, and there were no cries of "we must do better," despite the fact that we should. For many, breaking free of the past ways of thinking that has commodified animals is as difficult as it was for those animals to escape the fences and sheds that had confined them. So here is where the power of sanctuaries come into play, telling stories of hope and happiness amongst the hell that has become the lot of so many farmed animals. Stories like that of dear Carol, a sweet Berkshire breeding sow who found herself heavily pregnant and abandoning the cow one Christmas. If bringing Carol to the safety of our sanctuary was to be one of the most joyous days of my life, hearing her sing to her baby is to be one of the most moving. There is no doubt that Carol loved those tiny, shiny piglets, and I remember watching her lay ever so carefully down in a bed of soft golden straw. It was something that she'd probably never ever done before. And I couldn't help but be moved to think of the countless production sows who had no other choice, who would inadvertently crush their babies. How tragic must have been for those poor mothers to hear the cries of those babies and not be able to do a thing in the world to stop it. Mothers trapped in areas so small and bodies so anatomically altered that they couldn't help but do so. I recall the contrast on the faces of those dear mothers. One was filled with a sense of hopelessness and despair. Some who had given up, overcome by the sense of learned helplessness that had become them. Mothers trapped by even more than those metal bars, trapped as well by a way of social thinking and legislation that said they deserve no more. Carol exercised the utmost of care, nuzzling the straw as she prepared her bed, announcing she was about to do so all the while. And she did so with control, lest one of those cheeky little monkeys sneak underneath her. Today, almost 4 years on, Carol still has her babies by her side, despite them being almost fully grown and as big as she. Her babies, Cookie, Candy and Chris Crinkle, so named after the festive time of year in which they arrived. And they were joined shortly thereafter by a most handsome, now castrated boar renamed Waffle, who we believe to be the father of the trio. Now when dear Waffle arrived at the sanctuary, we wrote a tale about him. It was called The Saddest Pig, a tale his mournful face and nervous body dictated. However, looking at him today, with his Carol and his kids by his huge black and white side, his life is now one full of meaning and purpose. And yes, that's a wry little smile you see across those beautiful porcine lips. And he quickly took to the role of minding those kids whilst Carol took herself off to wander the fields in peace at her leisure. This nursery-style arrangement played out in a language that the pigs clearly understood, and one which we could only be humbled to observe. And today, with the kids growing almost complete, it is Waffle and Carol who are now found in their straw bed together, while the young'uns, they're down the hill playing, only to returning up the hill for mealtime. The lives of Carol, Waffle, Cookie, Candle, Kris Kringle and their little family group are quite simply remarkable. Remarkable for their similarity to ours. The great tragedy for pigs is that we humans have done so much to separate our lives and ourselves from theirs. And within that distance has come great comfort for us, but it's a very uncomfortable reality for pigs. Helping them keep there are derogatory and so factually incorrect expressions that have entered our lexicon and that are so often thoughtlessly tossed about. Stupid pig, fat pig, greedy pig, filthy pig, and even sweat like a pig. Now, pigs are most certainly not stupid. Just ask our Albert Einstein. He was the first pig to work out how to operate our piggy showers while we were pondering how to help him do so. And pigs are by nature, they're not fat. In fact, if anything, they're streamlined and agile. Yet the way commercial farms are set out to industrialise their lives has bred them for exponential growth in hideously disproportionate ways. And greedy pig, well, that's a little one. Pigs are quite the delightful connoisseurs of food, given the chance, and when they don't have to compete with their conspecifics to do so. They are, in fact, glorious and fun to watch whilst eating. Pigs will devour their food in the same gastronomic relish that I devour my chocolate. I will record to Edgar as he was eating his evening meal, one scrumptious bite at a time. I would offer him a piece and I'd announce it all the while. I would tell him carrot, apple, zucchini. As you know, he didn't like zucchinis, he would spit them out. Pear and pumpkin. And he would raise that glorious grand head of his skyward. He would close his eyes and he would chew and chew and chew. Filthy pig. Well, nothing really could be further from the truth about pigs. They are without a doubt the cleanest animal I ever met. I swear I would get 10 years back on my life if the horses in my care would have been half as clean as the pigs. Given the chance, they will never urinate or defecate where they sleep. We have a bit of a chuckle about this at Edgar's mission. You see, the entrance for humans at Piggy Paradise is the farthest area away from where the pigs sleep. And here, you will find their ablution block in all its pig poop glory. I think it's perhaps a comment about we humans. And there is no smell from their sleeping area, other than the sweet smell of happy...